heartbreak mixed with the void of something to do. From the back, like bent over in like spandex, full of piss. Actually, it's a good thing you emailed me when you did, because if you had waited like another 10 minutes, I would have been into my pull-ups. And
Oh, dude, did I interrupt your workout?
oh, don't worry about it. I mean, I usually do 2 a days anyway. So
Okay, that is true. That
I
is true.
basically, so I got through like the pushing part of my workout,
Uh,
and then here I am. So
wow.
you
So,
caught me at a pretty good time. Yeah.
did you run back from the gym to get here?
So right now I'm staying with my dad, and I have my home gym here. So
Nice.
most teenagers put their money into like a car or tattoos, and I put mine into a home gym. So,
Beautiful. Great
yeah.
investment. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Nice. Nice.
it was before COVID too, so I could work out through all of that.
Oh man, that's amazing. Man, that's what took me off the path and got me back
Yeah.
into like
So,
Ironmans was that
yeah.
I was shut out of the gym. So I was like, I got to do something. Lost all my gains, spent like
Yeah.
3 years, wasting away.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, man. It's
yeah.
nice to actually be able to see your face. It was real dark in the last one.
Yeah, I know. It looked like I was summoned in something. I
Yeah.
changed my location a little bit. I got the fiance's carousel horse back here as
I
company.
love it. I
So
love it.
yeah,
Gives
yeah.
it personality right now. I just got this painting.
It's a
I got yeah.
there's like
What's that?
eyes in it. I'm there's like two eyes, I feel like,
No, it's
creepily
just a bunch of
staring.
circles here. Let me like
Okay.
I don't know if it's gonna work, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah, I
go
see,
like
I see.
yeah. Yeah, I got all the cool paintings in front of me, but that's probably for another time.
Understandable. Yeah, those are just for you, man.
So how
Well,
you been, man? What's been going on?
well, listen,
Mm,
Jacob, before we do begin, I
mm.
feel like I have to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And, the Bulk Boys podcast was founded on the principle of a caloric surplus. And I think we both have to hold ourselves accountable because, first of all, I
Yeah.
withered the fuck down. I lost 10 pounds like in the month of between February and March because I fell off my game, stomach
Hmm.
problems, life stress problems. I stopped tracking. I
Hmm.
almost slipped under 200 pounds. I was damn close. So I fell off the wagon
Hmm.
and I'm just putting it out there. I know this
Hmm.
cut is planned for you, but we are inching away from the spirit that this
Yeah.
podcast was founded on. And I want to make a statement right now. I want to say if you're tuning
Hmm.
in and you are not in a caloric surplus, rip out your headphones. Get the fuck out. You
Yeah.
we
Amen. Amen.
you are
Get off this
not our
podcast.
audience.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I'm actually like postponing my cut for the time
Okay,
being.
okay.
Just because I told you about the 300 for 20 squat that I'm going for.
Yeah.
And well, there's I don't want to like say too much, but there's a small possibility that I get a sponsorship from a nonprofit mental health organization for that lift. So I'm gonna
Wow.
make sure that I actually hit it now. So I'm
I'm
gonna
so
continue to
glad.
eat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's cool. That's a good side quest, and it has a worthy sort of motivation behind it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny though because I had my first training session back in about 5 days ago.
Uh,
And it was the day of the week where I hit the 20 rep squat set.
oh God.
Fuck, man. Like it's
So
pretty daunting to be honest, but I think I'll be
yeah.
all right.
So how are you training it? Are you doing like a super squats kind of thing to prepare or
Sort of. So, I have most of this is still like my off season for powerlifting, strongman, whatever. And then I'm just instead of having what would be like an SSB squat day, I have two sets of low bar squat and then a bunch of front squats after. And the low bar squat sets, one is a set of 20, the other is a set of um this week it was 13, next week it'll be 14.
okay, I
Um
see.
and then I think realistically, depending on how next week goes, with muscle memory and everything, I'll probably be where I need to be in about a month. is my
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that a lot of when you're working in higher rep ranges, it's just conditioning your body. The capacity is there, but kind of building the sort of uh, connection between your mind and your body to trust that you can keep grinding out reps,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah,
on something like the squat.
the mind definitely, I would say for squat is probably the biggest one. Like I feel like with bench, it's like doing 20 reps of something is more physical than it is mental.
Mhm.
But and on deadlift, you can kind of just like chill with the weight on the ground for a little bit if you need
Sure.
to.
Yeah.
But squat, it's crushing you that whole time.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of cheese the system by like locking your hips and your knees and then breathing at the top.
Right.
But it's still like you still feel it. It's still mentally hard, even if you're getting a physical break. So, the good thing is that my first set of 20 was 245, and I didn't really take any like breathing breaks in the middle of the set. I think I might have stopped at like 17 just because I was holding my breath for the first, 16.
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus.
yeah. Well, I mean, I go at a pretty quick pace. Anyone who's ever seen
Yeah.
me work out, it's like, some people like to, take their time and breathe in
Mhm.
between reps and stuff. That's not me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as much out of that good brace as I can. Because as soon as you breathe out under that weight, you're never going to get all that brace back.
That's a great point. Yeah, I know Chad Wesley Smith does volume that way. And I think it keeps you more honest, especially on something like squat, where you can fall into this breathing squats pattern. And it's like you can be doing rep work and you can think, oh, well, I hit this for my 10 rep max, but you took like three breathing breaks in there. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a true 10 rep max to estimate your 1 rep max off
Yeah,
of,
exactly. It's like a set of five, a set of three, and then a set of two. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this strategy makes sense. Correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, but you're going ahead and hitting a 20 rep set, kind of sub max and just inching the weight up. And then you're
Mm.
also hitting that set of 13 that which will become 14. And you're doing like rep, add reps. But are you doing that set at 300 right now?
No, so both of those sets are at the same weight. The main thing
Okay.
I have to
Oh,
really
I
worry
see.
about is like the definitely the conditioning. Like
Mhm.
that one set of 20 squats, my adductors haven't been that sore in so long. Like
Oh,
actually
wow.
I had to take an Epsom salt bath even with the desert heat because it was just like it was really bad, honestly.
Yeah.
Um because I had to be ready for yesterday, which was another lower body day.
Okay.
And it's just I think it's mainly the conditioning because like on paper, if you have good technique, you should be able to do about 60% of your max for about 20 reps. And then, obviously take a couple breathing breaks. That's not an issue. It's conditioning my mind more than anything.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's the main thing. And then I'm just doing a lot of hypertrophy other stuff.
Nice. You might as well, if you're training the squats, sort of align the goals for just a little more hypertrophy
Yeah.
at the same time, because I'm sure you're eating more robustly than you would be if you were, trying to fit into a weight class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm still like toying with the idea of just saying fuck it and just like not cutting for the
Yeah.
meat because let's just say the dating market prospects have turned better than I expected. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, maybe I didn't need to get abs as much as I thought I did.
Well, that's
So
good to hear. Okay.
yeah. Okay, so here's the real reason is I actually have been thinking a lot about hitting a 1500 total
Hell yeah,
at this
man.
meet.
Yeah.
Um so which will not make me no matter what weight class I'm in the strongest in the state because actually one of the other guys that was at the state championships, that video I
Mhm.
uploaded this morning.
Yeah.
His coach is like he went to nationals for powerlifting America in the 120 kilo weight class, and he came fourth or fifth, I want to say.
Oh, wow. What's his name?
Ben Lujan, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah. I can't put a
He's
face
it.
to that.
Yeah, he's not like a super big lifter, but he just I mean I think he's got something like a 750 squat, 450 bench, 750 deadlift.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, I mean, I didn't meet him, but he's a little shorter than me, but God, his
Uh,
legs are probably fucking twice the size of mine. They're giant.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I wouldn't be the strongest in the state. Like I would probably be in his weight class, which sucks,
Uh-huh.
but also that's not really what it's about. It's more about the experience than anything.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, man. First meet. And I mean, you got to do what's exciting to you. You got to pick the goal that's exciting to you. But I mean, I
mm,
think that if you were one of your own athletes, and certainly if Sam were here advising us, um,
yeah,
he would encourage you to not cut weight before your first meet and just fall where you do, which
yeah.
maybe that's 242, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you could even be 250 and try like a water cut,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, well
something.
that's actually what I've been thinking about is I would just be
Yeah.
250 and try a water cut. Actually, you know
Yeah.
what's funny is because of the move, I'm already down at 242.
Oh,
I
wow.
I shed
Okay.
weight. I shed weight so fast.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That's
like
crazy.
actually at the state championships they had the calibrated scales and I was like,
Uh-huh.
"You know what? Hey, can I
Yeah.
step on it?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course." And I got on it and I was like 242 on the dot. And
Wow. Okay.
I was like, "Damn, I've lost a lot of weight."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a water cut would go pretty easily just because I've already um like I'm already much heavier than a lot of my clients. And
Yeah.
so they're routinely losing like 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like an 8 pound water cut wouldn't be that bad for me.
Yeah, and I mean the gut cut, people underestimate how much they can get out of that. You can get like 2, 3% of your body weight out of a good gut cut. And that's like for you, that would be what, like 5 pounds, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. You
Big
just
like good
gotta,
5, 7 pounds, yeah.
yeah, just eat low residue foods the last couple days. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or just take a laxative the night before or
That
something.
too. That too. Yeah.
The gut cut. I never even thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah. I've heard horror stories of people like mistiming their magnesium citrate and like they don't shit before weigh-ins and they shit on their first attempt squat.
Oh God, yeah. No, I
Like,
wouldn't. I would just risk waking up in the middle of the night at that point.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
So
not even.
how many weeks is the meet in June? Your meet?
So it's gonna be in November purely
Oh, okay.
for no other. Well, originally it was gonna be in June.
Okay.
Um, but I decided to move it back to November because the way the membership works for USAPL is if you buy your membership, it only lasts through that year.
Okay.
So if I bought it in, July of 2024, it would end in December of 2024.
Got it.
But
Okay.
if I got it in November, it carries over through 2025.
That's a great idea.
So
Yeah.
it's like, why am I gonna pay for 6 months when I can pay for 14 months kind
Yeah.
of thing?
Totally.
So that and it gives me a little more leeway because like my friends are going to be back. I'm going to be, working one job at three locations and going to school all at the same time. So I'd like to not have a ton of different things I'm trying to do all at once, because
Absolutely.
I can afford to miss a training session 4 months away from a meet. But if I do that 6 weeks from a meet, I'm going to freak myself out. So
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you can hit this 20 rep squat and then still have 6 months to prep
yeah,
after that,
yeah,
if you hit it in a month. So
yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And just for the viewers, if you haven't seen our first couple episodes, shame on you, first of all. Go back and watch. Second of all, Jakob just moved a third of the way across the country and you've landed back in the home state of New Mexico. So
yep,
just for
yep.
context. Yeah.
Back back in the good old Albuquerque. Yeah. It
Nice.
hasn't changed that much. I don't know if that's a good or it's a bad thing. I know it's a bad thing. Um,
Okay, fair enough.
but it's definitely kind of nice to be back around
Yeah,
family and so I don't know, it's been a journey. The thing is that lifting is like not a big thing here as much as it is in more northern states.
really.
Yeah, just athletics in general is not as
Okay.
big. But I think that probably has to do with the heat. You can't really be outside for like 5 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Like um right now it's cold outside because it's like 9 in the morning. But in when it gets to like midday, it's just so hot, like the grass gets burned and just all kinds of stuff.
Wow, that's
So
wild. What's like
yeah.
a top temp? I mean, like what does it get up to in the summer?
Um Last summer it was over 100 degrees for like 45 days
Oh
straight.
my God. You don't have
Yeah.
to worry about a water cut then. You can just go
Yeah, just
outside.
go outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll burn, but that's
Yeah.
fine. I already got
It's
I already got a sunburn, but
yeah, yeah. It's like 88 here, or it was yesterday, the past couple days, but it's humid, So
yeah,
y'all
you're
have
in
that dry heat. I'm in Florida,
yeah,
northern
that's what I thought.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good old Florida. I love Florida. So
yeah. The
that's
only
like kind of a dream spot, to be honest. I would love to live in
really
Florida.
a lot of
Yeah.
lifting here. I mean, a lot of big lifting.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard. And that I mean it's a lot of just at general like sports and stuff, I feel like.
definitely.
They have three NFL teams, which I mean that's pretty fucking weird to be
Yeah,
honest, because
yeah,
California has three or had three. I don't remember.
yeah,
But it's still, I don't know. I'm definitely excited to be back here. I do feel a little bit like a big fish in a small pond.
yeah. Just
Because
get on Instagram. That'll
yeah,
solve that.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, as you saw, my lifters are making me feel real
Dude,
insecure. Yeah.
congratulations. Yeah, I watched it this morning. Amazing performances. And I mean, kudos to you for guiding them through that and mentoring them to
Yeah,
get up to that.
it was pretty it was something. Actually, they're how I got into coaching. This is my
Yeah.
story. So I was a volunteer powerlifting coach. I just needed something to do. And Ethan, who's featured very prominently in that video, we could not get him to stop working out outside of the gym, outside of powerlifting.
Oh, yeah.
So he
Okay.
would leave and then like go do more bench press and squat and deadlift. And so I would make like basically like accessory workouts for him to do at
Uh-huh.
home so he didn't just fuck himself up. And that's really how it started.
Yeah.
Is then he started doing these accessory workouts, took off, and then probably two, three other lifters basically just followed suit where they were like, "Hey, we're seeing this guy make tremendous progress. Let's see if I can get some extra workouts." And that's how it all started for me.
Yeah.
And now we've got the long slippery slope that involves me throwing my email into every conversation in my YouTube videos. But
Have you
you know,
gotten anything
yeah.
weird off of that yet?
Um, well, I had this guy Mason email me about a podcast one time.
Oh, God damn it. Fuck him.
Yeah. No, I haven't got anything yet. I don't think my channel's big enough yet for that.
Oh, it's coming though.
I know. Well, dude, your channel's taken off. I remember saying to one of my friends after we did our first podcast, I was like, he's a smaller channel to mine now, like your channel, but that isn't gonna last for long because the type of content that you put out goes up more is more popular than what I put out in general.
Do you really think so? I mean, I
Yeah.
find that I mean, I don't really know, but it would seem like you're very informational, and it's
Hmm.
entertaining, but you do a lot of practical advice
Mm.
for lifting. And so I think there's obviously a huge market for that. And mine is just kind of dumb stuff, and then the podcast.
Oh, people love podcasts and dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've
Um,
slowed down a little bit because I've been all over the place looking for jobs. But I have a couple in the works. I'm still working on the John Paul Sigmarsson script. I haven't even recorded it yet
mhm.
because that's
So
going to
how
be the
much?
next
Yeah.
string stories.
I remember after watching your first video, I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, how much scripting does this guy actually do? Because it was fucking hilarious, the
Oh,
Doug
well, thank
Halpern video.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's very rare that someone's humor in a YouTube video, if it's dry, actually makes me laugh, like physically laugh. And yours video did that for me.
Oh, well, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Humor has always been a currency for me. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
growing up in my household and then even like doing high school sports and stuff, it was like it didn't really matter if you were the fastest or whatever. It was just like could you make the other guys laugh? So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that
Yeah.
that probably means more to me than it should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, everyone likes to make other people laugh, so
Sure.
everyone likes
Yeah.
to laugh. So it's
But
yeah, but even then, so that goes back to my question, like how much scripting are you doing for those videos?
oh, I mean, I totally script it. I'll write it out. And that's actually the fastest process for me because I have spent the past 12 years of my life writing every day, like writing
Mhm.
fiction. And so I research and I like outline my notes on the research. And then I just write a draft and try to make it funny. And then I revise it and I tweak the jokes so that they're less dumb, hopefully. Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
record, and what actually takes me the longest is the editing the images, which that's my biggest
Oh yeah.
learning curve that I have, and
Yeah.
getting the images and the gifs right. Like I'm inconsistent with the gifs. Sometimes I can't convert them or whatever on the website I'm
Mhm.
using, but it takes me I use Filmora and I
Mhm.
use my fiance's enormous desktop that's like a gaming desktop that she built,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
that's nice.
way smarter than my laptop. Because and when I try to edit on my laptop, it all just crashes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
so I definitely think the editing was like the biggest learning curve for me. Like
really.
you went back and watched some of my old videos. My
Oh.
condolences. It's not easy to learn. You really just have to like eventually you do the same shitty thing over and over and you're
Mhm.
just like, "Hey, I could make this better." And then you realize that it's not actually that much of a time difference. And so
Yeah.
you just start to do this better thing and it's just like slowly building your way up.
Yeah, I've really appreciated the graphics in your last couple of videos, especially like when you were walking us through like your bench progression and you had things um up on the screen kind of bulleted out, but there were also images around it. I thought that was really
hmm
cool.
Yeah, so I can't like really take credit. I kind of took that from Bald Omni Man.
Nice.
He's probably my favorite source of informational content right now.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though, because even though he's not a strength guy, he still has a lot of great strength numbers, and he's obviously
Yes.
very, very muscular. So there's something that you can get from that. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure. Yeah.
And because that's what everyone wants, right? Is they want the 405 bench plus the
And the
huge delts.
beef. You want to
Yeah.
look like you bench 405. You don't want
Yeah,
to just bench
exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
405.
no
Yeah.
one anyone who says they want just one is lying. You know,
Total.
everyone
Yes.
everyone wants to be
Yeah.
jacked and strong and people to look at you like you're an alien. So,
Yes, dude. Yeah, I want to disgust people when I'm walking down the street, you know.
yeah.
I want
Yeah.
them to, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
having to walk sideways through doorways is my goal.
your ambition. I think
Yeah.
that that's much more feasible outcome for you than for me. I think you're a lot closer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, I've got a bigger frame than I give myself credit for. But
Yeah.
I also have I may have mentioned this. I have like a weirdly shaped rib cage. So, it's more like most people's rib cage is kind of shaped like this from the front.
Uh-huh.
Mine is like this, sort of.
Okay.
So
Huh.
I don't know how to describe it. Like my ribs right now, or like no, right now, they have my whole life, are pointing like forward rather
Yeah.
than kind of pointing inward toward each other.
No, that
Like they're
makes sense.
pointing
It's
front to
like
back.
the
Yeah.
back of the xenomorph's head in Alien, but on both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, actually
Yeah. You may be concerned. You may want to see like some kind of uh medical professional
yeah,
about that because you
so
might be birthing, the next xenomorph.
you know what's funny actually is my everyone has their weird little quirks with their body, right? And I
Yeah.
have a good friend Xander who we will get on the podcast eventually because he is
Fantastic.
crazy.
Yeah.
He's incredible. But he was like, I love learning the quirks about people's bodies. And then he was like, you know, when you bench press, one side of the bar goes lower than the other, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's probably because I have like three ribs out of place. And I've had three ribs out of place like my whole life, basically.
How do you get to that point?
You know, I'm not really sure. Could have been a lot of things.
Yeah.
The one that sticks out in my mind is I got thrown out of a car when I was 8.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, it's a long story. I didn't get like thrown out of the car. It was on dirt and it was going like 25 miles an hour.
And you
So
were
I got
just pushed.
Yeah, well, I didn't even get pushed. What happened was the door didn't latch properly and I didn't have my seatbelt on and he took a hard turn and I just,
Oh
yeah.
wow. Dude.
And yeah, and so I think it was that. It was either that or playing football, but
Okay. Yeah.
I've never really done anything that severe. But also having ribs out of place sounds more severe than it is. The biggest difference is just laying down, like to go to bed at night or whatever it might be, or to
And what
bench press.
happens then?
It's just a slightly uneven. Like it's probably like
Oh,
an eighth of
weird.
an inch difference, but you
Okay.
know, it's
Yeah.
visible, I guess, if you look hard enough. So,
That might I could anticipate how that might affect like the side judges when you're benching at a
yeah,
meet, because
yeah,
it like might look uneven or something.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're any federation other than NMAA, that won't matter. But
Yeah, okay. Are they like extremely strict on bench?
since I am not a representative of Albuquerque public schools right now, I'm just gonna say this is my complaints, all right? This is my rant.
Great. Let's
They
hear
have
it.
some of the dumbest fucking rules for powerlifting I've ever seen. So if you're benching and your foot doesn't leave the ground, but if it moves, red light.
Wow.
If
Wow.
um what's another good one? They called one of my guys on hitching. I
Yeah.
didn't put the video of it in there, but I could show you the video. What happens is he's grinding toward the lockout and the bar is shaking because he's like
Wow.
uncurling his spine basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it wasn't like you've seen the Eddie Hall 500 kilo lift. He
Yes,
wasn't
of
like bucking
course.
it back and forth.
Yeah. No, he's
Um,
just his whole body's trembling.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they called him on that, which was bullshit.
That's bullshit.
The other one that they called a lot was downward motion on the squat. You know how when you hit the hole and then you come up, a lot of people's hips kick up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
They would call that as downward motion if the bar went down literally like
Oh
millimeter.
my gosh.
Um,
Yeah.
and then now here's what pissed me off is there were a lot of times where lifters would like blatantly ramp
Mhm.
and then they wouldn't call it. So my
That's
thing is like
so
my thing is
arbitrary.
you have to be consistent with
Of
the judging
course. Of
because I
course.
can handle all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. It needs to be consistent lifter to lifter.
Yeah. There needs to be a clear standard that's
Yeah.
like well articulated so you can
Yeah.
prepare for it.
And then I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I'm gonna say it because it's fucking bullshit. Um, they say on paper that everyone at state is subject to a drug test. 3 years, not one person has been drug tested.
Wow.
And I will not
Wow.
name names, but there are several athletes who are in high school who are very strongly rumored to be on PEDs.
Dude, I have no doubt they are so accessible in this age. It is
Mm,
extremely easy to acquire them.
yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be word of mouth. You can, if you know what you're
Yeah.
doing, you can go online. You can order it
Yeah.
and it shows up in your mailbox. And then the other thing is SARMs, which
Yeah.
aren't even
That's
technically
part of it. Yeah.
illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's incredible. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these kids are freakishly strong.
Yeah.
SARMs are not, but they just it. If you're gonna say you're gonna drug test people, you should at least drug test the winners of the men's categories in each weight class.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
my
and it's
opinion.
like otherwise just don't say anything. And then
Yeah.
we understand you're not testing. You
Yeah.
don't even have to say untested. Just
Yeah.
don't have a policy, right? And it's
Exactly. Well,
like, yeah.
and also, an at-home test kit for most PEDs is
Mhm.
like $30. And
Wow.
so, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys with all your sponsorships can't afford how many weight classes are there? 12? You can't
Yeah.
afford $360 worth of tests to make sure that
Yeah.
you're not subjecting high schoolers to feel like they need to hop on. Because
Yeah.
that's the point we're getting to now, is a lot of these kids are starting to see the success of certain lifters. And they're like, well, the rumor is he's on drugs. So maybe to compete, I need to be on drugs. And
Yeah.
that's not, I've straight up told my guys, I was like, if you guys hop on, I'm dropping you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm not going to subject high schoolers to being on anabolic substances that are not
Of course not.
inductive.
Yeah, you don't condone it, so you're not going to continue to work with them. Regardless of, I mean, that equation I imagine is so much different.
Mhm.
Figuring out how to go through a prep with that assistance, right?
Mhm.
That I mean, it's just I understand why teams like, Joey Flex, I mean, in addition to his ties to like the IPF and stuff, like it makes sense from just knowing your limit standpoint of like I don't coach enhanced guys because
Mhm.
enhanced people because I my experiences with natural athletes, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
But my contention is more that if someone, first of all, is going to be 18 or under, like you're just stunting your development, dude. Like you're not
sure.
cool.
Yeah, and
It's
you're
not
not
worth
going
it.
to figure out how to actually train productively for yourself because you're
Yeah.
going to get this artificial bump.
Yeah, I will give you this. I'll tell you the name of this person who I'm thinking of right now afterward if you're interested.
Sure.
But
Yeah. After we
I
unrecord.
I did talk to him during the meet.
Mhm.
Not about that, but he is
Yeah.
extremely cerebral. He's very, very intelligent. And he
Yeah.
has a YouTube channel that's bigger than mine.
Wow.
And I mean, I'll say this, the drugs are not why he's succeeding,
Mhm.
but it is why he's getting the notoriety that he
Sure.
is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I listen, I have all respect. If you want to you can make whatever decision with your body
Sure.
that you
Yeah.
choose. But my contention is that um high school athletics needs to do a better job of making sure these kids are not being encouraged to stunt their own development. That's
Yeah,
where I
you
stand.
know, and I think even in USAPL and PA, testing
Mhm.
should be more regular, because they might test one or two top lifters at a meet, and we're getting fields that are so deep these days. It's
Mhm.
like, I mean, it's kind of like cycling in that way, where there is, there might be somebody placing 10th who would have been placing 25th, before they hopped on, right? And they're not worrying about getting tested because they placed 10th. But why is that any less of a priority for you as an organization to test the 10th place athlete than to test the winning athlete?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind
no,
of a fallacy to assume that like the outlier is the one most likely to be using. I think.
mhm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And also I think that um the way that they go about doing a lot of the testing is kind of extreme. I won't get super deep into the science here, but um you can do like just basic blood work to look at your LH and FSH.
Yep.
And if you've been taking anything exogenous, it will crush those two markers. And so you don't even have to check for anything else
Yeah.
because if you're able to perform at that level with an LH or FSH that's a zero,
Yeah.
you don't even have to do any of the complicated, looking for epitestosterone, or you don't have to do
Sure.
any of this stuff. That's
Yeah.
way more expensive and time consuming.
Yeah.
And also it costs significantly less. So I think a lot of it is just a lack of knowledge and a lack of willingness.
Yeah. And
That's my
it's
thing.
it's amazing how accessible kind of education is about blood work. And it's very readily available, in the public market. I mean, we can both name five guys on YouTube who go deep on that stuff,
Mm,
and to not pursue a deeper understanding of that when it is purportedly your duty to uphold like a natural federation. I mean, that's just you are failing at the premise upon which your organization was founded.
yeah, I completely agree. We could probably go on forever about drug testing, but it's just like,
Yeah.
if you really, it would not be horribly complex or expensive to make sure that everyone at that top level is actually clean and not using PEDs.
Yes.
It's just I think it's really just laziness, probably. The lack of a little bit of lack of funding, but a lot of lack of effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, man, we got this is an important topic to cover,
Yeah,
but we got to delve into the training.
we do.
I want to
We
know a
do.
little bit more about what's going on around this 20 rep squat. How's the shoulder? Weren't you doing some rehab for the
Yeah,
shoulder?
so it was my elbow.
Elbow. Oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
so I had a little bit of golfer's elbow. I've realized that this was the first period of time I didn't do curls preventatively
Mm,
to balance out all the tricep work.
yeah.
And I think that might have been it. Because even though it's a condition that's related to your forearm, um, I think that like if you've ever done like a hard set of like barbell curls, your forearms get pretty pumped from that,
Oh, yeah.
because your wrist has to keep locked like this
Yeah.
the whole time. And so I've just been doing a lot of curls in addition to like a little bit of like wrist, like basically like wrist curls and
Yeah.
a little bit of like pronation exercises.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, knock wood, seems to have cleared it up pretty well because
Nice.
we're two high effort bench sessions in with no elbow pain.
That's
I also
awesome, man.
I also YOLO'd a 325 bench, and
Hey,
I actually
dude.
there was no pain, but the issue is that my my triceps were lacking because of all the like basically not training them,
Yeah.
avoiding this whole thing. And so I got it to like three-quarters of the way and just couldn't.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it hurt. It hurt my soul because it actually came off. It was a pause and it came off the chest
Wow.
better than 315 did,
Dude, that's
which was,
awesome. That
yeah.
is a huge step forward from
Mhm.
315, like touch and go, RPE
Yeah,
9.995.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Totally legit, but
Mhm.
RPE
Yeah,
999
it was hard.
point,
Yeah.
yeah, to that with the pause. I mean, that's a strength gain. I don't care
Mhm.
about the last quarter. As soon as you get back to the dips and stuff, that's gonna
Yeah.
clean right up. So
Yeah, I think I don't know if I guess I'll give away the secret formula here. So I'm 3 for 3 on implementing this with myself and my clients as the banded bench, man. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, the dips
Man.
for like the bottom half of the
Yeah.
range of motion in a bench, and then banded bench for the top half. I don't know. There's just something about it. It
Okay.
just I don't even you almost have to ignore the band like the band tension being there. Like I think like I put the bands on and then I just progress the straight weight on the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean it's worked. I mean it's worked really well for me. It worked for Ethan who his bench jumped up 25 pounds in 3 months with a weight
Wow.
cut. So
Are
it's
you
not
both moderate grip benchers? I mean, I know you're
yeah.
pretty moderate,
Yeah,
but
he's
Ethan is too.
Yeah, he's also got pretty long arms too. So,
Okay.
I mean, do with that as you will. It
Yeah.
also worked for Dom, who is a wider grip bencher, and he's got probably a little bit shorter arms relative to his height and everything.
Okay.
So we've got basically all types of builds so far. The only thing is that you have to be careful not to overdo the band tension. The band tension should literally just be like icing on the cake. It really should not be that big of a difference.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're talking me into it, man.
Yeah.
Because I think my sticking point is the top quarter of the movement. And maybe it's because I spam so many dips and I do train all of my benches paused, but it's
Mhm.
just like that last little, here where it's
Yeah.
almost like your pec you know, bows out and then it's just
Mhm.
kind of triceps to
Yeah,
finish.
exact. It's
So
that
yeah,
exact spot that the bands will train
yeah.
because
Great.
as the weight goes up, obviously it shifts more into your triceps. I mean there's so many factors with it. Like
Yeah.
as the weight is heavier on the bar relative to your 1 rep max, the tricep activation goes up. So
Mhm.
you get more activation and you also have the actual loading of the movement being more into probably what is the weaker muscle group. Like there's a whole host of factors that make banded bench work. And I don't know. It's working really well so far. I'm gonna keep going. So
Great. Yeah. So are you usually programming that in like excuse me, in like a
mhm.
strength rep range, like 4 to 6 or
Yeah. So right now I'm trying it in a like a hypertrophy context
oh,
for the
okay.
first time. But for the first time seriously. I've probably had it in for like
Yeah.
2 weeks at some point, but I'm gonna stick with it for at least
Yeah.
a couple months, probably more than that.
Okay.
Um, and I will say that the most success I have seen is in a lower rep range. So I was doing sets of 5 and 6.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, I don't really, maybe it's just because I'm not strong enough yet. Um, but I don't really do reps unless I'm doing like a max effort type
Hmm.
lift. I don't go down below 4, like ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That makes sense. I think that 4 to 6 is kind of the most productive range for strength development.
yeah, yeah, for the
Maybe
bar,
3 to 6,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. There's a
Yeah.
there's a time and place for sets of 3. I think sets of 3 for like a back down after a heavy single
Hmm.
definitely has its place.
Yeah.
I would say that for the most part, your strength development is going to be in that like 4 to like on the high end, probably like 8
Yeah.
rep range.
Hmm.
And then there's a time and place for like 10s and 12s.
Yeah.
But also if you're doing sets of 12, like a lot of sets of 12 on squat, you are a nutcase. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
I always come back to the idea of like effective reps, and the farther away I get from 80%, if I
mhm,
if I go much below 75%, I kind of just feel like I'm wasting the first few reps to get to like a semi-fatigued state.
mhm.
At least on the compound movements. I'll go
Oh
higher
yeah.
for isolations, but like
Yeah.
especially with squat, I've sometimes I'll do a block of tens, but usually I do blocks of eights
Mhm.
as kind of my hypertrophy phase for squat.
Yeah. For me, it feels like I'm dying if the bar is heavier than 225, even for 1 rep. I just
Yeah.
have to like mentally just be like, oh, you're fine.
uh-huh.
I think that actually that might be the biggest thing that no one considers in the rep argument is that with compounds, you have a larger range of motion than you do on most of your isolations.
Yeah.
And so I mean, time under tension is like kind of a debated topic,
Mhm.
but I will say that if you take a set of 10 on squat And
Yeah.
instead of 10 on like calf raises, the calf raises is going to take you 5 seconds. And then
Right.
the set of squats, if it's 10 reps, might take you like 45 seconds.
Yes.
So I think there's something there, right? Because there's all the energy systems you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably over my head, to be
Well,
honest.
I also find that when I go in the higher rep range on compounds, my technique changes. It's not that it necessarily I decide to be sloppy because I'm mindless, but like you just don't have to brace as hard with 65 or 70% on the bar as you do with like 75%, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I
Yeah.
also think that something you should do if you're going to go higher reps like that is like take the belt off and take the sleeves off if you
Oh
can.
yeah, that
Because
makes
then
sense.
then your 1 rep max with a belt and sleeves on squat, for example, is probably like 5-10% higher than it is, when you're not using any supportive equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you backing down a little more can make those reps more effective.
That makes a lot of sense.
So
Yeah, because then 70% becomes 70% of your like sleeved belted max becomes like 75% of your beltless
yep.
unsleeved. So you're actually working with a higher percentage for that particular variation, which is hardly a variation, right? But
Yeah. No,
I've just, yeah,
I completely agree. I actually love using like periods of time for beltless training
yeah,
just that example is like you don't have to put as much weight on the bar to get a very similar effect,
mhm,
you
yeah.
know? And when you're earlier on, that's probably not that big of a deal. But like when like you hit I saw that 500 squat, dude.
Oh, dude,
That
I'm
was
still
beautiful.
watching it every day, making sure I
Yeah.
actually did it.
Yeah, but I know that's how I felt on the 600 deadlift.
Yeah.
Like it took me like 2 weeks for that to set in. Um, but like when you when you're talking 5 or 10% of that, and then you're
It's
talking
50
about a
pounds.
percentage, yeah, you're talking about
Yeah.
a percentage of that 50 pounds taken off.
Yeah.
You're already it saves you time and energy just loading the bar, and that's a
Yeah.
kind
That's
of an
true.
important thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love to be in the gym and everything, but there's a certain point where you get like a quarter of the way through your accessories, and you're like, I don't want to be here.
Yes, dude.
So saving time and energy from loading the bar and from just
Yeah.
putting the belt on and off in between sets, like, it's very productive for a lot of reasons, not just you
Yeah.
having to learn how to brace without one.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I gotta admit, I was really religiously doing the neck training with the fucking neck harness.
Oh yeah.
Since I this new block, I'm like, I can't be fucked to do this, man. I haven't been doing it. It's just I definitely became less of a pencil neck during the months that I did it, but I don't
Yeah.
really think I'm gonna lose anything if I stop doing it because
Yeah.
I'm still deadlifting, I'm doing trap work, I'm doing like high pulls.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably going to cover my bases, and that's way more fun than going to the
Yeah.
end of the
Absolutely.
workout, doing the cable stack, and fucking like taking my
Yeah.
chin to my
Oh
chest.
yeah. And also, what's funny is Pete Rubish. He
Uh
always said that he people always asked him what he did for his neck, and he was like, I deadlifted. That was
yeah,
it. That was his only answer. And
yeah,
he had a neck.
yes,
And
dude.
yeah, and I trained my neck to like fit my head because I have this
Uh
like a huge head.
huh.
But now that it's like kind of similar, I'm getting a little worried about sleep apnea, so I think I'm gonna lay off
Okay,
too.
back off on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you look
That
very
isn't
symmetrical right now, though.
yeah, see that's what I'm looking for.
Okay,
Is the
yeah,
symmetry. And also I wanted to say thank you because you put me back onto high pulls and I
yeah.
had forgotten about high pulls
Uh huh.
and dude, the middle of my back like in between my scapula is just cooked.
Oh yes, and
Yeah.
it's fun. Like
Mhm.
a dumbbell seal row or a cable row, it's not those are not like boring, like but
Mhm.
doing a high pull is so much cooler. Like I
Yeah.
look forward to that,
And you just
whereas
fling
like
weight around.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been
And you know
doing
what? Yeah.
uh
No, just the diabolical superset of doing high pulls and then upright rows where I
oh
just like,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever tried that. I just tried it for the first time earlier
Uh
this week. And like the whole, like the yoke, I guess you would call it, like
yeah.
the traps, delts, and
The
then
most
like the middle of your
important
back.
muscle to intimidate your gym rival,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Based
Yeah.
on your
Yeah. Yeah,
assessment.
exactly. It was just the whole thing was completely it was like a
Yeah.
pump. I don't really feel a
Uh
pump in like those areas very often.
yeah.
So I don't know. The fun part about hypertrophy blocks is you kind of get to experiment with different
Yeah.
exercises. Like when you're 2 months out from a max that you're really, or like a planned
Mhm.
PR you're gonna hit,
Yeah.
you kind of just want to put in all the exercises that work. But
Right.
it's fun to experiment when you're several months out.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's the only way you learn, where you're like, oh, wow, this really fucked me up in a new way. So it's probably useful to keep in
Yeah,
until I'm focusing on strength.
yeah.
That's one thing that I think that just due to my self-imposed childhood trauma, like I always had this hesitation to move too far away from any one capacity. Like, and I wanted to be taking singles year round, sub max, but like just to kind of keep that ingrained. Um, and whenever I got into a strength phase, I was really hesitant to pull my assistance work. And I finally have gotten to a place where it's like, no, I actually look forward to the cyclic structure. Like I'm going to go all in on hypertrophy for this, like, and work capacity for this early block, right? And I'll do, 8 weeks of hypertrophy work, and then I'll go to fives. And I'm going to look forward to tapering down my assistance work and getting more specific as I move
Mhm.
into the strength phase and then do a peak. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, what's funny is I think my biggest weakness as a coach or as a lifter is I don't really know how to do a peak, to be honest.
yeah.
I kind of just take like a little 5 day deload
Mm.
and then just jump into it basically.
I think
But
that people probably way overcomplicate it, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my always been my thought is like maybe if you're Thor Bjornsson and you're deadlifting 500
yeah,
kilos, you probably need like a pretty decent um like coach to have that peak perfectly laid out.
yeah,
But like if you're just some schmuck, lifting, half of that, you
yeah,
probably don't need something super complicated to get you where you need
totally.
to be.
Yeah,
I had Ethan benching heavy 3 days before his meet
really.
because I especially with lighter weight lifters and people who are younger, they recover so fast
Mhm.
that I actually think if I had done more than like probably 4 or 5 days, he would have started to actively like detrain.
Yeah, gotcha.
So yeah, so his last heavy single I think was like 240, and it was just like, and then he did some back downs, and then I didn't have any accessories for him, but that was like,
That makes sense. Yeah.
if you told Julius Maddox to do that, first of all, he wouldn't do it. Second of all, he would bench like 3/4 of what his actual
Yes,
potential was.
totally. Yeah, well, there's more fatigue to shed. He's a larger athlete,
Yeah,
and that seems to be the trend is like the bigger you are and the stronger you are, the longer you need to shed fatigue and the longer you hold on to that capacity, or even the decay in actual peak strength is sort of undone by the decay of fatigue. So it's like
yeah,
you're better off being slightly, 10% undertrained than a 1% overtrained kind of thing.
yeah. No, I get you. Yeah, or like I guess the reverse, where like you'd rather be 1% undertrained than 10% overtrained, right?
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably a
yeah, yeah,
better,
yeah, yeah.
more accurate
Yeah.
equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, and I completely agree. And obviously I do want fatigue to be really low because when fatigue is really high, you got the injury risk and that whole
Mhm.
thing. But I have a pretty good track record of I have a much worse track record getting myself hurt than I do any of my clients.
Yeah.
So usually if Ethan gets hurt, it's like, oh, I was playing football and I got a concussion. And
Something outside
I'm
of the
like,
gym.
dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
Right? Um, yeah, obviously like little things. Probably the worst one is one of my guys strained his adductor,
Uh-huh.
which was giving me flashbacks to my hamstring.
Oh
And then he
God.
went and competed and he hit PRs and then he just got
Wow.
hurt like training after that, like 2 weeks after that. So dude, the body is so finicky. It's
Yeah.
just it's one of those things where after a certain point you just have to learn your body's signals. Like, like if I go into a warm-up room and everything's feeling really, really slow, I might can that session for the day and then come back in tomorrow. And usually that
Yeah.
fixes the problem.
Yeah.
Or like even sometimes what I'll do is I'll go back inside, I'll go eat something and go keep my mind busy for an hour and then go back in and that'll even be enough to like have my
Reset.
yeah, exactly, have my
Yeah.
body reset.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how delicate it can be to to create the state of feeling on, you
Mm.
know. I think I've gotten a little better at that in that uh, after our initial discussion about not relying on stimulants, I mean, all I used was coffee, but I've been
Mm.
a caffeine-free boy ever
Oh,
for
really?
like
Yeah.
3 weeks, except for the days I maxed out.
Mm.
And I kind of like training calm, man. I feel like I'm more
Yeah.
honest with my RPEs, and it's like, okay, I'm stopping at a true 8 here. And that's
Mm.
actually where the sweet spot is for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, and a
Um,
lot of people like, I mean, like you were saying, they just like slam the stims, listen to metal, and then
yeah.
just go in and like maybe they'll have like five really good sets, and then they crash, and
And
then you're kind of
gas.
like just
Yeah.
eh.
And then
But
you
for
don't
me,
train your
yeah,
wrists or neck, and you're
yeah,
not going to get
exactly, yeah,
anywhere if you don't do that.
yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be thick neck? No. Then God, what was I gonna say? No, but like earlier when you emailed me, I was listening to Katy Perry while I was benching.
Nice.
Like
Dude,
I
I'll
was
do
just
some Kylie Minogue too.
yeah, exactly. I'm just
Yeah.
having a good time. I'm just listening to, whatever I feel like because training happy is probably best for like 99% of
Mm,
your work.
yeah.
You want to be amped up for like a really heavy single or a max, and that's
Yeah.
it,
And then you
basically.
want to turn it off because you don't want to stay
Yeah.
in that state, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so like when I was warming up for the 600, I was listening to rap music all the way up until I got to 500, I think.
Mm,
And then I switched to metal
mm.
just for the 585 and the 600.
Nice.
And that
Okay.
was it.
And what kind of
Yeah.
metal are we talking about? I mean, I want to delve into
Um,
this.
I was listening to um oh, it's probably more like punk rock, I guess, but it's
Yeah, I just meant bands.
oh, bands. Oh yeah. So I like Disturbed a lot. I
Uh-huh.
like
Classic.
Five Finger Death Punch. I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of generic, but I've also like I listen to a little Manowar
Uh-huh.
and a little
Dude,
I
that's some
yeah.
classic shit.
My liked songs is literally like 1,200 songs.
All over the
So
place. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So but as far as metal, I think my current hype song is A Thousand Lifetimes by Fire from the Gods. That's what they're called.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
nice. I'm not
Which is
familiar with that. I'll have to check it
yeah.
out.
Or another one is um Alone by Bullet for My Valentine.
Yep, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So that those are my hype songs, but like
Uh,
a lot of times I'll be listening to like Kanye West
yeah,
while I'm doing like my straight sets and stuff
yeah.
because I'm not trying to like I want to be focused, but I don't want to be like super amped up the whole time.
Yeah. And I think there's something about the tempo of music and like hip hop and especially Kanye West, his instrumentals, are very percussive. And so there's really a rhythm, a very
Yeah.
consistent rhythm
Yeah,
there that I
absolutely.
think is useful to kind of like assistance work and staying kind of focused. I mean, people use like the 40 hertz binaural beats to focus when they're working. And I don't
Mhm.
think it's that dissimilar to that same principle.
No, yeah. Well, that's that. I think all the medical research is out there where like you actively perform better at exercise or even just at general tasks
Yeah.
if you are listening to like faster paced music with like a
I
higher
believe
beats per
that.
minute.
Yeah.
So like I'll listen to like California Love by Tupac,
Uh-huh.
and it's got a pretty good pace to it, and
Yeah.
that's one of my like I wouldn't say like my go-to song or anything
Uh-huh.
because I've got too many of those, but it's one that I routinely go back to when I'm like
Uh-huh.
trying to like lock in on these accessories. I don't need to be super hyped, but I need to be focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then, so
what's your
I'm gonna give you
yeah, I
this.
was gonna say what's
Um,
yours? Yeah.
yeah. The and you got to be careful with it. I mean, you might want
Okay.
to put this on once a year because you're gonna
Okay.
end up either punching a hole in the wall or crying. Probably both. So
I
we're
gotta
gonna
write this
go.
down.
This is classic death metal transitioning into doom metal.
Okay.
Well, kind of. Oh yeah, Celtic Frost. One song. I don't want you to listen to the fast shit. You got to go dying God coming into human flesh. It is so
Whoa.
sick. The build is so epic. It's like Lord of the Rings, and then it just gets heavy as shit, like a minute
Okay.
30 in. And it's so
Yeah.
good. I really like kind of doom metal where it's very low down tune guitars, really
Mhm.
heavy and like bass heavy, and it's actually not played that fast. And for whatever reason, that like gets me amped up. In a
Yeah.
way that's different to kind of fast stuff. But I do like fast stuff. Like Every Time I Die, they're more like metalcore, so they kind of have that punk rock influence, but
Hmm.
they're a classic band, man. And they're an interesting band. I mean, Andy Williams has been on the Powercast. He's their like rhythm guitarist.
Oh,
But
really? Oh, that's
he was
cool.
on there
Yeah.
like with Mark Bell and Silent Mike and Jim McDonald.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, dude, music is we could probably talk about music and lifting forever, and that's what's great about it is like everyone has their own specific music that they listen to
Mhm.
get hyped up, and
Yeah.
it can be wildly
So
different from
very.
anyone
Yep.
else. My ex's brother used to listen to Adele to get hyped up.
Wow.
Actually, there's a powerlifting gym here, and the
Uh,
owner listens to Christina Aguilera when he's about to go hit a PR.
man.
But he like
Yeah.
listens to metal all the other time.
Mhm.
It's just when he's
That
gonna go for a PR.
And
Yeah.
that's the common denominator is whatever it is that gets you into that state when you think about what your uncle did to you when you were 12,
Yeah.
that's what's going to hype you up. So it's like, exactly,
Yeah.
save that. And then whatever the difference is. So it's like, if you can just be ambient with metal, that's cool, but you got to save
Mm.
that Christina Aguilera. And
Aguilera
I
song.
think that's
Yeah.
the common thing. But there's so many people who go in there, the same people hitting the stimulants hard, who are like, they want to maintain that hype state like they're
Mm.
about to kill something the entire time. And like you've said many times, you can't do it. You're shooting yourself in the foot. And then
Yeah.
you're going to run it. You're not going to sleep well that night, and it's just going to spiral. And you're trying to overcome the sleep that you have from the previous day by amping up the music and hitting the pre-workout.
Hmm.
And
And
it's
it
yeah,
just
it's like a
snowballs.
negative feedback
It
loop.
just
Yeah,
snowballs. Yeah. Exactly. And you have to God, I'm so glad that you like understand my points because sometimes I feel like feel like a crazy person because there's all
no,
these different um people selling out, selling,
yeah,
pre-workout, selling all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I know you were popping D-ball and I know that was the secret to your success.
yeah.
Don't act like it was C4. Come on.
Right. Well,
Um,
look, I mean, they actually had Superdrol and GNC supplements in like in the
yeah.
early 2000s,
Yeah, yeah.
like even Eric Helms accidentally took some because he didn't know it was in there, and like he
Yeah.
had a short ban from natural bodybuilding because he was like, "Hey, I didn't realize this was in here," you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I didn't know that story, but yeah, I did
Yeah.
know that. I mean, I know people who I went to high school with who who were like seniors when I was a freshman and they
Mhm.
like remembered when you could still buy Superdrol over the
Yeah.
counter or
That's
like they had an older
crazy.
brother that did or something. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's incredible to me because that is very harsh, very, very
Yeah.
harsh to
Kidney
just be
failure
buying
in a
over the
bottle.
counter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's why in general people are like, what supplements do you take? And I'm like, creatine, magnesium, zinc.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch anything that might
Gray
completely
area.
fuck up my hormones. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think those are so reliable. They're a really great bang for your buck, and they are truly effective. Creatine is
Mhm.
truly effective. Zinc and magnesium, we're all deficient in it. You've spoken about it on your nutrition videos, and it's like it's going to improve your sleep quality too, you
Mhm.
know. And if I was going to add one to that, I would say melatonin, and not everybody
Mhm.
needs it, but it's
Yeah.
actually, in addition to helping you fall asleep, it's a pretty powerful antioxidant.
Yeah.
And kind
I
of
think
like a
you and I may have viewed the same
Oh
content.
yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
watched
from
some crackpot saying like you got to take 200 milligrams of melatonin
whoa,
a
okay.
night, and
Yeah,
that's
see,
so
I
yeah,
didn't see
that's what
that.
it
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I just remember the old Leo in longevity days before he was exposed
Classic.
as a we'll say not a great husband and then
Yeah,
unceremoniously was murdered, not murdered. But
yeah.
yeah, that was the whole thing. Anyway, but he was also big on the antioxidant powers of melatonin. My contention with the melatonin is that like you don't want to mess up your body's melatonin
Mm-hmm.
production unless your body already has issues with that,
Mm-hmm.
in which case you do whatever you have to do to sleep. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I will say from what I've heard, that actually isn't like there isn't an inhibitory mechanism for melatonin. So
Yeah.
like this is just
Yeah,
what
no,
I've
you're right.
heard.
You're
Yeah,
right.
so
No,
like
that's
that's
correct.
it. Yeah.
The concern is that like you become a little desensitized because the amount of
I see.
melatonin you take
It's like a
at like
thousand
orally.
times,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
what
a
your body
lot.
makes.
So
Yeah.
the good thing is that you resensitize really fast. But again, I don't know if for me, I
Mhm.
wouldn't risk it unless I
That's
really need it.
fair. Yeah,
So
and I
like
think that's a good strategy. Save your money unless you identify like a pre-existing problem you're trying
yeah,
to work around.
exactly. And the only things that I will say people should pretty much always be taking into consideration are vitamin D, which you don't have to buy. Just
Mhm.
go outside, you
Yeah,
fucking cave dwelling troll, and then zinc and magnesium. That's
yeah,
like mainly it. And even creatine, it's like eh, like
yeah,
it works. I'm not arguing it doesn't
yeah,
work. The issue is like, are you going to spend that much money to really not feel all that different?
mhm.
That's my contention
Yeah,
with it. Whereas with zinc, if you take it consistently for like 3 days, you feel way less inflamed. Like you're not going to
yeah,
feel like the allergies quite the
mhm.
same. Magnesium, you're going to
Yeah,
sleep better. You're probably going to have more vivid dreams. Like you're going to have marked noticeable differences within a week, probably,
yeah,
if you're deficient. And most people
yeah.
are.
And I will say, I mean, dreams aren't the only things that become more vivid whenever you get enough zinc. And I'll leave it
Oh,
at
yeah,
that.
I've also
Yeah.
yeah, I've also been privy to that
We might
information.
say it's more vivid and even more viscous.
Yeah,
And
viscous
we'll,
is a good
yeah.
word. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Apparently that's what they say about oh my God, what is it? Not HGH. The stuff people use as a PCT.
For
Oh my God.
PCT. Oh my God. Is it in clomiphene or clomid?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Clomid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Clomid. Yeah. Yeah, which some people I've heard of some people using that for the other benefits that are not related to getting
Sure.
testosterone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard some pretty wild stories. You get on a Discord and
Yeah.
you like read around a little bit and you're like, "Oh, I used enclomiphene to, X, Y, and Z that I won't say
Well,
here."
people
So,
use it for like monotherapy, for like hormone therapy just
mm,
in and of itself, to kind of
yeah.
increase their natural levels.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm sure it works.
yeah.
That's not a really a realm I'm like actually experienced in.
Mm.
The most unnatty thing that I've ever done was
Yeah.
BPC 157. And
Dude,
that
oh,
was
I'm glad. Okay, yeah.
yeah. And that was it I will say it did work. My issue is that I didn't rehab right with it, so it didn't
Okay.
really do anything for me, but it definitely works. Like I'm
Did
not gonna say that. Like it
yeah.
definitely helped me heal. I just didn't do what I needed to do on my end.
Okay. Was that with your hamstring?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will say for everyone who's like, "Oh, not natty, not natty," it was not banned by WADA for
There you go.
the whole time I was using it and for almost a full calendar year afterward.
Is it
So
banned now?
it is now.
Oh, dude, that's bad news. Because I got to tell you, I just got prescribed some TB-500, which
Oh,
same
really?
kind of thing. Yeah, and
Yes,
I've been
very
using
similar.
it for
Yeah.
my shoulder and elbows, and it has
Mhm.
really worked.
Oh, you got
I mean, it's been
prescribed it
so
though?
effective. Well, I mean, I got it through my endocrinologist. So like
Oh, okay.
he
Yeah.
sent it to me. Yeah, he was
Oh, then
like,
you're
this
probably
might
fine.
help
I
you.
mean, there's probably a
Yeah,
waiver you
okay.
can sign somewhere if you're
Yeah.
gonna, excuse
Because
me,
I
go
was
pee pee.
actually thinking about doing a USAPL meet in July. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you would just need to get on the horn and be like, "Hey, I'm
yeah,
prescribed this,"
yeah.
like because you know, like Adderall is banned by WADA, but
Really?
they have their own,
Yeah,
like in the Olympics, you can sign a waiver for it. There are some drugs you can sign waivers for, as far as
yeah.
that's to my understanding. So,
Okay. Yeah, I'm still on the fence about that meet anyway, but that's really I'm
yeah.
just looking for an excuse not to do it so I don't pay $180.
Yeah, well, that's my thing, man, is I don't want
Yeah.
to, I don't want to shell out. And I was talking to someone and they were like, "Oh, you could just do a smaller federations meet." But
Mm.
then it's like, what's the point? Because I'm just going to show up and beat someone's 35-year-old uncle. Like I want to go against some actual competition
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And I
And
have
there's
uh
mhm. No, there's just no upward mobility in that,
yeah.
like you just go do some backyard meet.
Mm.
And unless it's the backyard meet of the century, who
Right.
cares?
It's a very specific backyard meet.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
there's only been one, and
yeah.
there probably will never be another one. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, man. I derive so much satisfaction from just doing a gym max. And like I know it's a legit gym max, but now I will say, my goal for this next training block is to actually bench a clean 315 on calibrated plates, because my when I hit 315, I mean, it was extremely ugly. No pause, bounced it the fuck off my chest. I didn't see it on the film, but I wouldn't be surprised if my ass popped up a little bit too. Like, so I mean, it was really ugly. So I'd like to hit that with more control and with a pause.
Yeah.
And I was actually, this is interesting. I had been training at Anytime Fitness on rubber plates over there, and I
Oh
had
yeah.
like worked up to that. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh yeah, this feels really good. And like I was consistently taking 305 for a top single pause, and it's like no problem. So I was really shocked when I went back to the powerlifting gym and started
Hmm.
using calibrated plates. My like what I where I thought my strength was not where it was on those plates. So
Yeah.
like I think
Oh
that
yeah.
there's something with the rubber plates that maybe I mean iron plates legit, right? But
Hmm.
like there's something different with the rubber
Yeah.
plates. So
Well,
I was,
mhm.
I really overestimated my capacity. Because I mean that's just how strong I was at Anytime Fitness on their equipment, right? And like
Yeah.
I mean it
Well,
says,
they're notorious
yeah,
for their plates being a little light.
really, I
Yeah.
didn't know
So
that.
like my 600 deadlift
Uh,
was probably closer to like 590 or
really?
595. Yeah. But I can't, I didn't sit there and weigh the plates.
No,
And
man,
also,
that is a
yeah.
600 deadlift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I will say this, I have lifted on iron plates that are heavier than those calibrated plates. I
Yeah.
can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah.
Like
No,
at that
th-
state meet, those plates that they were using were way heavier than what they were listed because I have a
yeah.
pair of 55-pound calibrated plates in my home gym,
Uh-huh.
and those 45-pound plates felt heavier in my hand
Wow.
than those
Yeah.
55s. And they probably
Yeah.
weren't, but like the fact that it's
Mm.
comparable at all is just incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I know I kind of cut you off.
Well, no, I was just thinking about that. And there's something, I mean, iron plates maybe vary more, but I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like I can look at an iron plate, like a brand of iron plate, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a heavy 45 pounds.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And all
Um,
that to say,
mhm,
when you're 315 bench, I looked at those plates and like I know those kinds of plates, right? Like I've
mhm.
used those at gyms before. Those are heavy 45s. Those
Yeah,
are like that's a heavy plate. It's not
yeah.
one of these like ones with the holes in it, it's perforated and
Yeah,
shit. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's also like something that people don't talk about is a lot of those iron plates, especially if they're older and the rust is on it,
Mhm.
short of them being chipped, they're probably heavier than 45 pounds.
Yeah, they're accumulating
Yeah, exactly.
some corrosion.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
getting corroded and the rust is adding weight.
Yeah.
And even then, a lot of them are machined so that they'll be like 46 or 47
Mhm.
pounds. In the event that you chip them, they're
Right.
still 45 pounds.
That makes sense.
Or it's
Yeah.
just a cheap mold and like there's a lot of things that can go on there.
Yeah.
But I think Ed Coan has a story where he bombed out at a meet because they were using 100-pound plates
Uh-huh.
and he bombed out because his like 830 opener, the people who worked out at that gym were like, "Hey, by the way, those 100-pound plates, one of those is 110, the other one's 107." Yeah, yeah, and so he like so what his 830 opener or whatever was actually like 855, with all the
Jesus
plates.
Christ.
And he was completely unprepared. And I think
Yeah.
all of them, all the heavier ones were on one side. And so it just like, yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? This is why calibrated stuff is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Well,
This
hey
is
man.
why, yeah. Yeah, I know you're
Yeah.
busy. Yeah.
Oh no, no, I was
Oh,
just
you're
gonna
about to head out.
say,
Yeah.
not well, I
Cool,
was
cool,
just
cool.
gonna say off of that, like I now that I have access to the calibrated plates, it's like of course I'm going to use them because that's the most consistent way for me to overload. And it's not like I have to go out of my way. The gym's a block from my house. So of course I'm going to use them if they're there. But that's what I'm going to do for this whole training cycle is just all my compounds on calibrated plates. And
Yeah.
also if you for our adoring listeners
Mhm.
who certainly fetishize both of us. The
Maybe
if
don't joke about that. I have a disturbingly high female audience,
okay,
actually.
okay.
Compared
So
to most lifting channels where it's like
yeah,
2%, mine's like 12%. So I don't know
dude,
how
it's
that
the
happened.
hair.
Yeah.
It's the hair.
It might
And
be.
it's
It
the
might
winning
be.
smile. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Making me
um
blush, dude. Come on.
well, that's always the real
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're training at a different gym, don't freak yourself out. Probably be more honest with yourself about your RPE than like judging by the logbook from last week because there can really be a difference between rubber and iron plates and just the even the
Yeah.
gym that you're at.
Yeah.
Like
The
I was thinking,
difference in environment, the difference in bar, like
yeah,
the I would say the difference in bar is probably as significant as the plates.
yeah,
Like I have a beautiful, you'll see a video of it at some point.
yeah.
I have like a beautiful blue uh Rogue power bar, and
Nice.
that thing is a bitch to deadlift on because there is no flex in that thing. And then if you compare that to the rusted old deadlift bar that I used at any time where I
Uh-huh.
pulled the 600, there's probably, even if I had the same plates, probably just 25 pounds of max difference there.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Yeah.
so, and then obviously you factor in the fact that I've got like metal plates mainly in there, and it just turns into a whole thing where like the
Keeps you
bar has zero
honest.
flex. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't be discouraged by switching gyms, working out somewhere else new.
Yeah.
Give yourself time to develop. I actually strained a spinal erector one time, switching gyms because I was used to the rubber plates and the bendy bar, and then I went to a more stiff bar and metal plates. It was actually the two gyms you've seen in some of my
Uh-huh.
videos. Is I went from the metal plates and a stiffer bar, or sorry, I went from the bendier bar and the rubber plates to the stiffer bar, and I actually strained an erector, which took me out of the gym for like 3 days. So
Damn.
that was horrible. I was mid deadlift and
Yeah.
I felt it go and I just put it down. And I luckily I knew exactly what to do. I
Uh-huh.
put all the weights away. I took a hot bath, got some blood flow in the area, and then just chilled for a couple days.
Yeah. That's smart. That's smart. You gotta be that it goes back to that self-honesty, man. You gotta know
Mm.
whenever not to take the next rep or when to stop that rep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get a reverse hyper. You have access to one yet?
No.
No, because you're
So
training at home. Yeah.
yeah, there's a like a Nordic bench thing that you can adjust like 7 different ways that I've been
Uh,
thinking about shelling out for, but it's like I can't just it's like $500 and I
oh
just can't.
wow. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just can't. But I would say that if I was going to buy another piece of
Uh,
equipment for my gym, it would probably be that
yeah.
because it's like Nordic hamstring curl bench, regular free weight bench, 45-degree back extension, 90-degree back extension, GHD, and reverse hyper all in one.
Oh, that's awesome. You can do so
And
much off
so
of that. And the
exactly, and it's
GHD doubles as a preacher curl. Is it?
yeah. Well, I use my
Yeah.
45-degree hip
Oh,
extension
okay.
as a preacher
Nice.
curl
Yeah.
already. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And man, that actually here's a fun training question. What type of curl is most effective from two strength athletes?
Okay. So I have two answers. I'm gonna cheat this. Okay.
Okay.
I like a dumbbell preacher curl
Hmm.
because if you do it right and you cut the weight by 50% from what you can do fucking up here and you actually bias the lengthened end, that
Hmm.
will fuck up the short head of your bicep. So I might do 2 sets of that of dumbbell preacher single arm, and then I go and do an incline curl,
Yeah.
2 or 3 sets of that. And it's like that's really all I feel like I need for a
Hmm.
robust biceps workout. And I'll do that 3 times a week, you
Well, it's
know.
a good thing that you answered with two because we would have ended with the same two answers because those are my answers too.
Okay.
The only one that I will say is in that conversation is just good old barbell curls. And the
Mm,
reason why is because you've got the overload factor
yeah.
and also the straight bar like locks you into a fully supinated position. So you have to be using your bicep. Like you can't do this like this thing that you see
Yeah.
with dumbbells a lot where you're
Yep.
like involving your brachialis and stuff.
Yeah.
You are literally just locked to be completely supinated. So that's my only one that I would throw in that conversation, but it's three. And what you answered with is one and two.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that just basic. And you never need to set that up. You're always going to have a bar to curl on. And
Mhm.
yeah, getting that fully supinated position. Some people can't even get their arm in that position, you know? So it's like
Mhm.
you're kind of always training some brachialis if you are incapable of achieving that like what is that external rotation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be so the position I'm referring to there is like supination
Or
where
supination, yeah.
it's literally just your hands that you're thinking about,
Mm,
but usually because people are tight, that goes along with the shoulder external
yeah.
rotation. Yeah. Which is really kind of a the body's so weird. People try to like isolate the individual movements and stuff, but like
Yeah.
practically no one is going to be able to supinate without some external rotation at the shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever have wrist problems from doing like a straight bar curl?
No. The biggest thing that happens is my forearms get pumped to the point of being
Yeah,
painful.
nice.
That's
But
the
that's what
main
we
thing.
want, you know.
Also, I think I might have had like very, very small um bicep and wrist strains
Mm,
from that I don't they're not even painful. But
yeah.
what happens is I'll leave the gym after I do that and I'll just have little pinprick bruises
Oh,
here and there.
wow.
Yeah. And so I'll be like, what the fuck? Where's that from?
Yeah.
But like, sometimes you just do stuff and you don't even notice you like bump something and you forget about it
Yeah.
and you like have a bruise. So I don't know if that's what it is,
Yeah.
but I have noticed that when I do barbell curls intensely, that's probably the biggest issue that I get.
Yeah. I've
Oh, also,
partial
yeah. Yeah, for people who do get wrist problems, just throw on some wrist wraps and it really it will do the trick in my
yeah.
opinion. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I've back in my sort of evidence-based bro days when I was exclusively doing cable work for my delts and arms, and that was
Okay.
like all I did, and everything else was on maintenance.
Mhm.
I was doing 30 sets of curls in a week, which isn't that crazy, but I like hadn't deloaded in a really long time.
Do 30 sets of curls in a
It was,
week.
I mean,
I
that
mean,
was like my
it's a
goal, was my
that's like a
priority.
heavy, I mean, that's a really high training volume for like any muscle group, but like just curls is like because if you do 30
Yeah.
sets of like hip hinges, you've got at
Oh.
least multiple muscle groups you're talking
That's
about.
true. That's true. But for
Yeah.
one, and I'm not recommending this. In fact, I am advising you not to
Yeah.
do this. But
Yeah.
I like partially tore my right bicep. And surely it was
Oh,
an
yeah.
issue from not from the curls. It was something from mixed grip deadlifting when I was still powerlifting that like was exacerbated. But I was doing so many incline curls and I was loading them very heavily and I was getting a full stretch. And I was like bracing against the bench so I would kind of get an extra tug, and my elbow
Yeah.
couldn't move back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I partially tore it and I went in to get surgery and the guy scanned it and he was like, "Well, it is partially torn, but it's hanging on by a thread, so we're not going to cut into you." And he was like, "You should be so relieved that we're not going to put you under it." And I was like, "No, because my bicep insertion was already shitty and now it will be even worse for the rest of my life and I won't be able to train it." And
And now you're
that,
yeah. And now you're cursed to be like Louis Simmons where he's got two torn biceps and he just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
No, actually on the mixed grip deadlift thing, my other side quest that I'm going on is to get my hook grip technique back because
Nice.
I don't know, I hadn't deadlifted without straps, honestly, probably in like probably 3 years. And I just completely forgot how to hook grip. It was at a point where back then I had it like so ingrained. I could do it with my eyes closed. I just would need to feel the knurling
Yeah.
of the bar and I would get it. But between that and then doing on a stiff bar now instead of a deadlift bar that's thinner, I I have been struggling so much to like get the technique back and I think I finally am starting to make a breakthrough.
Yeah. What do you
So,
attribute that to? Just kind of more
um
practice?
yeah, practice, watching a lot of videos. For anyone here as like a parting gift of knowledge, because we're gonna probably be wrapping this up here in
Yeah.
a minute. Um, the biggest issue here, I'll get a little closer to the camera, when you're doing hook grip is you want to get your first finger behind the knuckle of your thumb and then your middle finger on your thumbnail. So it's like this. And if you've got this in tight enough, you don't want to be like overhooked like all the way over here. You literally just need this. And
That's good.
the weight of the bar pushing your fingers and your thumb together is will cause enough friction that you won't lose your grip. It should be that you can kind of just hang on without even having your pinkies or your ring fingers on the bar.
Yeah.
But obviously I wouldn't recommend that for a max, but um
Do you kind of tilt your wrist so that like your first knuckle is lower than your pinky?
you know, I
That's
haven't
maybe a hard
I
to
haven't thought about that.
describe.
You're saying
Okay.
like when I'm reaching for the bar, imagine the
Like
bar's
your
here. I'm
thumb,
kind
yeah,
of like
like
this.
your thumb is a little lower because you're connecting with
Yeah, yeah,
those.
yeah. Um
Sometimes when I was doing it, I found that it just
mm,
helped me get my fat thumb like
yeah.
wedged,
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
do that. What happens for me is that once I get that hook set, what I do then is I crank my back into it. So I almost
Okay.
end up where I would have started, but
Yeah.
because of, the fact that I'm wedging into that position instead of starting there,
Mhm.
it almost just like doubles down on the tightness that I feel. So, and also, I already burned out all the nerves in my thumb, so I
Great.
can't, it doesn't hurt at all. It's literally just like the learning the technique again because I just completely forgot how to do
Yeah.
it.
It'll come
So,
back. It's like getting pushed out of a car or riding a bike.
yeah,
If you do it
exactly.
once,
You fall off
forever.
enough and yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that I probably will have that hammered out within about a month. The like probably around the time I do that set of 20 squat.
Yeah.
The issue is that then how am I going to maintain that while also doing a lot of like hard rep work?
Mm,
Because right now I'm doing snatch grip deadlifts, but I'm using straps for that still.
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have a fun time trying to like strike a balance where because
Yeah.
you can't really do hook grip for reps, I feel like.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it jars you loose after the first rep or two.
Yeah.
So
Maybe that's a case for pulling like a submax single in an off season, just to
mm,
practice the hook grip and then go to straps.
yeah. Yeah, that's probably where I'm gonna be at is like
Yeah.
I'll do my first set
Uh,
hook grip and then I'll do the rest straps and then I'll do a
yeah.
little grip work on the side.
That makes
But I'm
sense.
already doing a fair amount of like unintentional grip work. Where
Oh, interesting.
what I try to do is I try to do as much of my accessory work using my grip as I can, so that way I don't
Okay.
have to do additional grip work. So like for example, I'm doing lunges and instead of having something on my back where I've done it like with a plate on my back before, I'm just holding two dumbbells and I'm doing it like that. Because
Yeah.
like even though it's probably not that big of a grip stimulus, it's something. So I don't have to spend more time in the gym.
Yeah, well, it gets you accustomed to engaging those like nerves and those
Yeah.
muscles properly.
Yeah.
Even if it's not overloading the way that like a hook grip would be, I don't think it needs to be that specific
Yeah. No,
to
I
carry
agree.
over. And I've seen you doing strapless barbell rows pretty heavy too.
Yeah. I mean my grip is strong. It's
Yeah,
just I just need it to be I would like it for my own comfort to be a little bit stronger.
of
And
course,
also,
always.
another side quest,
Uh,
because dude, you should see me playing Skyrim. Oh my God, I don't even finish the game. Um, I do want to try and get a 405 double overhand deadlift. I've gotten very close. I did
yeah.
385 off a deficit,
Wow. That
and
probably is about,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
go
and that
ahead.
was no chalk either. So maybe it's
Wow.
already there, but
Yeah.
again, I need to do a little more grip work because if I fail it, and then I'm just like, fuck, I just wasted my time. So,
Yeah.
I almost feel like I have to get it. I have to make sure I know I have it before I attempt it.
Yeah, I think people maybe underestimate how impressive that is. And
Yeah.
anybody who deadlifts regularly without straps would understand how impressive 405 double overhand is.
Yeah. Well, and also I think I knew that it was pretty impressive because I heard a podcast of a couple strongmen, like lower level strongmen. I don't remember their names. And one of them was like probably like a mid 700s deadlifter in the middle weights. And he's like, yeah, I was always pretty known for my grip. I did 405 double overhand one time. And I listened to this podcast when I was like 17 and I already
Uh,
done like 350 or so double overhand.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. I just, you know what, actually, I last note, I attribute this because I used to play bass. And so I got used to
Okay.
like this kind of thing and it
Uh-huh.
made like each individual finger pretty strong.
Nice.
So even though my hands are like not that big, I don't know, I just have this ability to like lock in my grip more than I feel like most people do.
Interesting. I would never have guessed that that would carry over, but I believe it.
Yeah, well, it's like
Yeah.
kind of a pinch grip the whole time because those strings are
Yeah.
really thick. And so you're having to really bear down on those things a lot of times.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's my grip hack is do that. No,
Nice.
actually the best way to train grip that I've ever found, a lot of people like the grippers, they're fun. I don't think they work that well. Best way in my opinion is to do dead hangs with no
Yeah.
straps and then progress by time. And then once you get to about 45 seconds to a minute, you want to add on a little bit of weight.
So
So,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, so good.
that,
Just do that at the end, like at the end of your deadlift workout, right?
yeah, yeah. Or another good way is to do like you can, I mean, just doing anything strapless will help.
Mhm.
But if you are doing deadlifts strapless, on your last rep of every set, just hold it at the top. for
Yeah.
like 5, 10 seconds.
So what
And
Jesus did that to bring up his
yeah,
grip before Sheffield. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And grip responds really, really fast.
Mm.
So,
It's neural.
yeah, yeah. And George Lehman said something to the effect of like, it'll take you 6 years to get your deadlift where you want it to be, but it'll take you 6 months to get your grip where you want it to be.
Wow. Well, that's
So,
reassuring.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, he knows a thing or two about training, we'll say.
Yeah.
Do
And
you know
real
the,
estate now.
yeah. Do you
He's
know
like,
about the George Lehman lore
dude,
about all
of
the,
course.
oh,
Baby
I'm
Slayer.
so glad. Yeah. Well, and
Fucking
all the,
crazy.
yeah, he was a fucking psycho,
I need
but
to do
I
a
do love
Strength Stories episode on
on,
him,
yeah, on
honestly.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know how that'll go over if he sees that, but
Yeah.
I think he's pretty self-aware to realize that he was kind of a nutcase. So,
Totally. Yeah. I mean, he was surprisingly cerebral, when I heard him on like Mark Bell's podcasts and stuff
mhm.
at like 22,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.